So the 76ers say James Harden's out through the AllStar break. His debut with Philadelphia will have to wait as he continues to rehabilitate a left hamstring injury.
I thought Charles Barkley said just slap some icy hot on it. He'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
Yeah.
Harden will also not play in the All-Star game on Sunday. Here is Sixers head coach Doc Rivers on why they're waiting.
I have no idea. I just think it's more make sure he's right, healthy, and ready to go.
They didn't talk to you about that?
Yeah, just health-wise. I'm not a doctor, Howard. I swear to God I'm not. They call me Doc. But we want to make sure he's ready. And so we're going to wait until he's ready.
So this is why I love this sound from Doc Rivers, because there is so much on Doc Rivers' plate this year. And I just want to remind people, there was a lot of anger towards Ben Simmons in Philly. Trust me, Alan Yates, one of my boys, producers on the show, that's all I hear about, Ben Simmons all the time. But I would like to remind Philly fans that they were up double digits multiple times in the series against the Hawks. And I know that Ben Simmons was a scapegoat, but a lot of pressure was on Doc Rivers to close those games out. And you can make questions about why was Ben Simmons even in the game. Now, even if you want to question me on that with Ben Simmons, let's go back to what happened with the Clippers. Let's go back to the fact that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George did not want Doc Rivers to be their coach. Essentially, he was let go by the Clippers. Going into this season, a lot of questions around how do you manage personalities, understanding the history, even what happened with Doc Rivers, even though it equated to a championship in Boston with Rajon Rondo and Paul Pierce and KG. Like, it's followed him throughout the course of his career. Now, I know he got voted to be a top 15 coach all time in the NBA, and I love Doc Rivers. But there have been a lot of questions around decisions he's made on the court and how he's managed personalities. And you talk about two big personalities now that you like to manage. James Harden is an ISO player. He likes to dance with the ball in his hands. Joel Embiid is not just a pick-and-roll guy. He's a guy that likes to move out of continuity of their system and plays off being an ISO guy as well. How do you get those two to merge? Ooh, this is going to be great entertainment for us to watch how these two guys try to come together personality-wise and also how you make it work with them on the court.
I think one of the big things for Embiid when it came down to Simmons, it wasn't about court appearance in terms of me getting the ball, you clogging up the lane, all those sort of things in pick and rolls. It was more about the willingness to shoot the basketball, the willingness to be on the court and shoot the ball. He won't have that issue with James Harden. So I think that everything will be roses, because when you look at Embiid and you look at James Harden, they're not trying to do the same things. Embiid is not, James Harden is not trying to just go to the cup. He's going to shoot from perimeter and everywhere else, where you look at Ben Simmons, the only thing he was trying to do was get rid of the ball, give it to somebody else, or dribble drive right past somebody and dunk it when he had opportunities to pull the trigger. So that really upset Embiid to the point where it became a tit for tat, and that drove the personalities in different directions. I think Doc Rivers will be able to handle these two individuals because clearly, if that wasn't the case, they probably wouldn't have tried to acquire Harden, because they just left the situation with Ben Simmons. So to leave that situation and bring in one similar certainly wouldn't work in their favor. It'll be fun to watch them when they finally get on the court and play. I may even have to try and go to a Sixer game.
I think a lot of people are going to be trying to go to Sixers games. You know what, guys? I think Doc needs this. I think Doc needs a success here, and I'll tell you why. His stock in people's estimation, right, has fallen in recent years. You mentioned the inability to deal with the personalities on the Clippers, Jay. Remember, Doc was legend out of ATOs and stuff like that, but there have been times where you're like, oh, what happened to that? But the main thing is, more than even Simmons, who was awful, the main reason the Sixers lost in the playoffs was Doc played that all-bench unit. When he played the all-bench unit, he was stubborn about it. They got outscored like 1 billion to nothing. The games were lost every time he did that. You could go look at the scores and look what happened when he played his all-5 bench unit. He rested all 5 starters. That was in the playoffs. You shorten rotations. You don't widen them. You don't expand them. So, like, he it's what Jay-Z said about Nas, went from top 10 to top 5, whatever he said, to not mentioned at all. Well, Doc, you just said, went top 15 to people are looking with raised eyebrows. But if he can make this work, Jay,
Huge for him.
Huge for him.
So I want to remind people again, because I remember this, and I wrote it down. Javon Bua, who works for The Athletic, made this report because there are a lot of things talking about Doc Rivers having a hard time managing the locker room for the Clippers when Paul George got there. And he said this, quote, "The organization ultimately determined that the locker room, as currently constructed, lacked the requisite leadership and mettle to be a true championship team. Players weren't necessarily put in the best position to unlock a better version of themselves, either with the team not always making appropriate or timely adjustments," league sources said. I'm just saying, like, it makes this part of his legacy very important for Doc with how people view him and how he manages these personalities.
And yet, there is a chance what Daryl Morey just did is he put 2 MVP caliber players on the same team.
Takes nothing away from
History
that.
shows when you do that, when they're still playing at MVP level, and Harden, last time he was serious about basketball last year, was an MVP caliber player, easily, right, when he was on the floor. You put 2 guys on the same team like that, especially if they have complementary, at least in theory, roles, it usually results in a run at the top.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.